Metro Detroit couple accused of employing nearly 250 undocumented workers. They were found at a plumbing company in Plymouth.
Yeah, it's kind of frightening. Just looked like a normal business that I didn't see a lot of work trucks coming in and out.
America, a Michigan couple just got exposed for running a $74 million plumbing empire built entirely off the backs of illegal immigrant slave labor. Moises and Raquel Orduna Rios employed 253 people across 6 states, but federal agents could only confirm that 6 of them were legally authorized to work in the United States. We're talking about a systematic exploitation operation where they were collecting workers' passports, cramming them into overcrowded housing, and paying them under the table while denying them basic benefits like health insurance. But here's what's really disgusting. They were making millions off the backs of vulnerable people while legitimate American contractors couldn't compete because they actually followed labor laws and paid fair wages. Because here's what nobody wants to talk about. This case exposes how illegal immigration creates a 2-tier labor system where criminals profit from slave labor while law-abiding businesses get undercut.
Ruth, I can tell you that we've been digging into this all day, and the couple lives over in Plymouth, and they are facing serious charges and serious time behind bars.
What is up, guys? TYSON DELACRUZ here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story shows exactly how illegal immigration hurts both American workers and the immigrants themselves who get exploited by greedy criminals. Let me break down the scope of this operation that spanned multiple states and generated massive profits through systematic exploitation of illegal immigrants. The Orduna Rios couple didn't just hire a few undocumented workers. They built their entire business model around slave labor.
Spots who visited the home over in Plymouth, knocking on their door. No one opened the door, but spoke through the door, saying that they are not interested at this time with speaking with the news media.
The Orduna Rios couple are hiding behind their lawyers and refusing to speak to media because they know they got caught running a criminal enterprise. They were making $74 million off of illegal labor. You don't want to explain yourself to the public.
The Plymouth Township couple owned Orduna Plumbing, Manpower Supply, and allegedly hired undocumented workers, took their passports, and crammed them into tight living quarters.
When you confiscate someone's identity documents and control their housing, you're not an employer, you are a slave master. Out of 253 workers, only 6 were legally authorized to work in the United States. That means 247 people were being exploited in what amounts to modern-day slavery operations disguised as a plumbing business. Here's where this operation gets really sinister. The Orduna Rios couple didn't just hire illegal workers. They systematically controlled every aspect of their life.
The federal complaint focuses on Rochester, New York, but Michigan, Ohio, and North Carolina are also mentioned as places the company operates.
This wasn't just a local Michigan operation. They were running this slave labor scheme across Michigan, Ohio, North Carolina, New York, Tennessee, and South Carolina. They had a nationwide network of illegal workers being exploited in multiple states. When you collect somebody's passport and force them to live in overcrowded company housing, you are creating a system of control that prevents them from leaving or seeking better employment. This is how modern slavery operates. The workers were completely dependent on the Orduna Rios couple for housing, transportation, and employment. Without their passports, they couldn't travel freely or prove their identity to other potential employers. Now, let me tell you about the payment system that made this operation so profitable for the criminals while exploiting the workers. These people were making $800 to $1,500 a week. While $800 to $1,500 per week might sound decent, these workers weren't getting health insurance, retirement benefits, workers' compensation, or any of the protections that come with legal employment. They were being paid under the table while the Orduna Rios couple avoided paying payroll taxes, unemployment insurance, and other employer obligations. This under-the-table payment system allowed the Orduna Rios couple to undercut legitimate contractors who pay proper wages, provide benefits, and follow labor laws. They were essentially cheating the system while exploiting vulnerable workers. When legitimate plumbing contractors workers have to compete against a company that doesn't pay payroll taxes, doesn't provide benefits, and uses slave labor. It creates an unfair competitive advantage that hurts law-abiding businesses. The financial scope of this operation is absolutely staggering. The Orduna Rios couple generated approximately $74 million in revenue since January 2022 by systematically exploiting illegal immigrant workers across multiple states.
The complaint claims the husband and wife generated $74 million in their plumbing business that was based out of Michigan.
$74 million in revenue from a business built on slave labor. That is not entrepreneurship. That is criminal exploitation. Every dollar of that money was made by cheating the system and exploiting vulnerable people. They had customers across 6 states, all being served by illegal workers who were being systematically exploited. Every legitimate plumbing contractor in those states were being undercut by a criminal operation that didn't follow any labor laws. The couple was living in a $1.5 million mansion in Plymouth Township while the workers were being crammed into overcrowded housing. This shows the massive wealth disparity created by their exploitation scheme. Here's what really gets me fired up about this case. The Orduna Rios couple was able to undercut every legitimate plumbing contractor because they weren't following any labor laws, while honest contractors, paying proper wages, providing benefits, and following regulations, these criminals were using slave labor.
So whenever you use money that is unlawful and you deposit it into a bank and you manipulate the banking system, that's money laundering. And that's what the government's alleging here.
They were making millions from illegal labor, then depositing that money in banks. They were committing multiple federal crimes.
Former federal prosecutor Matthew Schneider reviewed the 27-page complaint, which mentions investigators interviewing the workers on numerous occasions,
building a comprehensive case against this criminal operation. The 27-page complaint shows the extensive evidence they gathered about this systematic exploitation. Think about the legitimate plumbing contractors who lost jobs because they couldn't compete with the company that was using slave labor, American workers and legal immigrants who couldn't get jobs because these criminals were exploiting illegal workers for below market wages. What the Orduna Rios couple was running wasn't just illegal employment, it was human trafficking. When you confiscate passports, control housing, and restrict workers' freedom of movement, you're engaging in modern slavery.
In this case, you've got physical evidence, statement of the people arrested, and the government was listening to the communications of the defendants.
The company headquarters is in Plymouth Township, where we stopped to see if anyone was present who could speak to the allegations. No one was there.
Also note on Google, it mentions this company is permanently closed. When your business model is based on criminal exploitation, you don't want to face public scrutiny. The workers were trapped in a system where they couldn't leave because their passports were confiscated. They couldn't find other housing because they were dependent on the company providing accommodations. And they couldn't report abuse because of their illegal status. This case perfectly illustrates how illegal immigration creates unfair competition that hurts American workers and legal immigrants. When criminals use slave labor to undercut legitimate businesses, it drives down wages and working conditions for everybody.
It's pretty crazy how big the operation was, with very little activity that was there.
Every American plumber, electrician, construction worker who couldn't get a job had to accept lower wages because of unfair competition from slave labor operations like this one. The federal charges against the Orduna Rios couple include conspiracy, transportation and harboring unauthorized aliens for commercial advantage, money laundering, and employment of unauthorized aliens. They're facing decades in federal prison if convicted.
The couple, whose address comes back to this $1.5 million mansion in Plymouth Township, were released Tuesday on conditions after appearing in Michigan Eastern District Court.
They were living in a $1.5 million mansion built on the profits of slave labor. The fact that they were released on bond shows they're not considered a flight risk, but the federal charges they're facing carry serious prison time. This case should serve as a warning to other employers who think they can build their business on illegal labor. America, the Orduna Rios case exposes the ugly reality of how illegal immigration creates opportunities for criminal exploitation that hurts everyone involved. These criminals made $74 million by systematically exploiting 247 illegal workers while undercutting legitimate contractors who followed the law. The workers were victims of modern slavery. Their passports were confiscated. They were forced to live in overcrowded company housing, and they were paid under the table without benefits or legal protection. This is is what happens when people are vulnerable due to their illegal status. The $1.5 million mansion where the couple lived while their workers were crammed into overcrowded housing shows the massive wealth inequality created by this exploitation. They got rich by treating human beings like disposable commodities. This case shows why we need strong immigration enforcement and severe penalties for employers who exploit illegal workers. When we allow criminal enterprises to profit from slave labor, it creates unfair competition that hurts everyone except for the criminals. The federal charges against this couple should result in decades in prison and a complete forfeit of their ill-gotten wealth. Every dollar they made from this criminal enterprise should be seized and used to compensate the workers they exploited. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.